Okay, welcome to Open Forum. Okay, we do this a couple of times a year. I'm going to start it just by a little bit, and we can ask any questions. What I'm going to do, since it's being recorded, I'm going to repeat the question. Now, you might wonder why I have 3 doctors up there mimicking the monkeys. Well, I want to bring up two cases. This is the first one. Now, imagine if you had, this is a patient, 7-year-old little angel. In fact, I have some chalk on my shirt because she was working on the chalkboard and I just got through adjusting her. Beautiful. However, she comes in with a diagnosis of leukemia. Now that's a blood disorder. Okay, it's leuko means white, emia means blood. So there's a problem with the blood. Just don't go over in detail the diagnosis. Was her mom given Pitocin at birth? Wild guess. Yeah, born in America. Traumatic birth, vacuum extraction. We're talking 84 different vaccinations, so her toxic level is very high. She had 12 ear infections. Now, with the ear infections, we understand that they're not infections, they're ear effusions. She was erroneously given 12 courses of antibiotics. Each course of antibiotics is a poisonous mold, and we know now that ear infections or ear effusions come from an upper neck problem. This is her upper neck, and it shows an unstable C2, C3 area, which happens to be the area that supplies the soft palate. So it was missed. Okay, however, the Pitocin, the vaccinations, the multiple ear infections, now, do you think this did good to her tummy or bad? Bad. Okay, now, it's America. What kind of food do you think she's getting? Toxic. Yeah, mac and cheese, okay, that's genetically modified, hormone laden, maybe microwaved in plastic. She has a bowel movement every 10 days. Okay, now they put ear tubes in. Now the frustrating part, you get someone that's extremely toxic with a bowel movement every 10, 12 days. Anybody got to guess what the health of their blood? Sick. Incredibly sick. Okay, it won't look like normal blood. So instead of the doctor being aware, saying, my God, you've had a toxic history, no, because this girl's history is normal. Okay, they immediately put her on chemotherapy. And what we do now, because she doesn't like vegetables or anything like that, we're going to help her. We're going to get her immune system working right. We're going to get her nervous system working right. But the parents were so appreciative because no one told them that food can actually help detox the body. Plants are good for you. Healthy fats will help her. And that she has pressure on the nervous system. So getting her, and I'm talking just cross-crawl exercises. I'm talking hot baths at nighttime using vanilla or lavender, okay, so that you can stimulate the brain. I'm talking cross-crawl exercises to avoid brain toxicity. I mean, the simplest things, they weren't telling the parents at all. The kid had a breakfast this morning of fried eggs, toast with a big slab of butter. Okay, that's not healthy for anti-cancer, and it's not effective. But no one told them. Okay, now here, and she'll get better. A normal neck should have a curve, and this is the side view of a normal neck. 100% of people with Parkinson's have forward head carriage. Wow. Now this is massive forward head carriage, but what I want you to appreciate, now Parkinson's is a shake, right? You've seen people with that? What that is if the brain's not getting enough information from the body's going to send a motor impulse to open and close the joints to get that information up. Now, I want you to appreciate this. This is the brain stem that extends down. Now, we have the medulla, the pons, the midbrain area here. In the top of this midbrain, those green things coming up that looks kind of like, like ears on a what do they call it, snail? Inside of there is a black substance. Do you know how to say black substance in Latin? No? Substantia nigra. Okay. So what happens is, think of this. If that head, which should be pointing up, is pointing like this Parkinson's patient here, it pulls the brainstem down, and pulling the brainstem down, what that's going to do, it's going to slow down or change the sensory input from the brain into the body. Does that make sense? Okay, so in order to correct Parkinson's, since 9 out of 10 people had an incident of trauma, do you think that we should look at the neck? Yes or yes? Yes. It's the simplest thing ever. to respect the body's processes and correct it. Now here's a Parkinson's before, 90 days later afterwards. Was her symptoms decreased? Yes or yes?
Yes.
It had to be. But why? Why? If we look at this, well, it makes sense, doesn't it? That you're actually distorting the midbrain, that can alter the structures inside. So, okay, Parkinson's doesn't happen just by accident. Okay, now here, this is interesting too. This is 2014. And you know how they're talking about vaccinations? Had a grandma, and her daughter happens to be a medical doctor, said, and they just had birth. And so here's this cute little grandbaby. The daughter says, no, Mom, you have to get the DPT shot before you hold the kid. Okay, now there's no science that shows that a vaccine is going to help protect transmission of a disease. And in fact, the DPT shot's been shown to express the disease. And here's a study out of the Clinical Infectious Disease Journals, Oxford journals. For the first time, a fully vaccinated, twice vaccinated individual against measles has contracted the disease and passed it on to others. It turns out that it doesn't have a lot of protective factor, but he's spreading it. And they couldn't find a tertiary contact. It seems that he just would spread it to the people that he knew. Okay, the people that he spread it to wouldn't spread it to others. So this is nuts, injecting a foreign protein into the system. So we need to stop it. Okay, now, any questions? I know, isn't that something? Okay, it's like, wait a second, I came in with a question and now I forgot it. Any questions?
Speechless.
Yes.
On your cruise, what are you going to be able to do about the food? Because everybody says when you go on these cruises, you eat so much. Is that going to be GMO and stuff like that, right?
No, well, what's neat is it's a European cruise line. Oh, I'm sorry. When we go on the cruise, what are we going to do about the food? Okay. Well, luckily, I'm going to show you, because we're all living in a real world. Okay. What are you going to eat? Okay, and we're going to talk about how what stuff is safe, what stuff isn't safe. Okay, what stuff is generally grown without pesticides, what stuff is grown with pesticides, and what fruit you can look at, what not. And then you talk to the people. You know, you're going to say, hey, look, I've heard papayas are genetically modified. Where are these from? You know, are they safe? Are they from Europe? Okay, if you're going to eat animal products, you know, we'll get them from the islands. Ask if they're locally grown or range-free, hormone-free. So you just have to ask. I mean, I was a full-on vegan for about 3 years. And, you know, I'd go in there and I'd say, you know, this chicken pasta looks good, but I'd like to order it without the chicken and without the pasta. Could I just get a bunch of grilled vegetables on it? And you'd be surprised. They're really cool. Yeah, it works.
They actually do it.
Yeah. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
What's a fatty liver?
Oh, then what is a fatty liver? The number one cause today is soda. Okay, high fructose corn syrup. It used to be alcohol, but now the number one cause is taking in massive quantities, well, massive, you know, just a regular size at 7-Eleven. Okay, and it's really high fructose corn syrup. What it is, anything you put in your mouth has to go through the liver. And the liver's an enzyme factory. So this means the aspirin, the broccoli, the water, the soda, it has to be filtered through there. And if there's any damage, or you damage, because it is an enzyme factory, if you damage any tissue, the body's going to try and repair it. And also some things can clog, because the liver also produces 80% of the total overall cholesterol that your body requires. So now let's say somebody has tissue damage. The liver's going to have to crank out this fat. And if it's cranking out this fat or cholesterol, okay, which is a phenomenal molecule. I mean, you build every hormone you can out of cholesterol. You're talking cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. All of those hormones are produced from cholesterol, and that's produced in the liver. So if the liver is damaged, it's not going to be able to have a good flow of it, and also tissue damage is going to literally damage the structures inside of it. So the most common cause is soda. Alcohol can also do it, but nowadays we're seeing teenagers with fatty liver disease. So how do you clean it? How do you fix it? Okay, fix the damage. And you're going to find out this is going to be the same answer for most everything. You got to restore the nerve supply, you got to get the person on healthy nutrition, and you got to detox the system. Now the liver drains through the gallbladder, and that gallbladder drains into the intestinal tract. So if you have a sluggish intestinal tract, you can't clean the liver because it's going to dump these poisons inside of a sluggish tract. You're just going to be resorbing them. So you're going to also see that one of the side effects of fatty liver, they're also going to have gallbladder issues, they're going to be constipated, they're going to be toxic. There's going to be not just one issue. And that's one of the things that this is the blind, deaf, and dumb, that we're looking at for an analogy, because it's never asked why. It's always given, you have this disease. Bam. Okay, and that's just not true. Because a liver is an organ that doesn't function in an isolated environment. Okay, it's connected to everything. So you got to look at the health of the blood, the health of digestion, the motility of the digestion, the nerve supply, the stress level, and I'm talking physical, chemical, and emotional stress. Once you get all those factors, you'll find out that the fatty liver is actually trying to protect itself from further damage. Does that make sense? Isn't that interesting? I like humans. Yes?
What about high cholesterol then? Bad.
What's a normal cholesterol level?
They say 250, well, 180 today probably.
Okay, good. I got 200 going once. I got 180 going twice. So 250, 250, 250. What do you got? What do you got? Anything other? What does? Yeah, it depends. Wintertime cholesterol levels go up. Tissue damage cholesterol goes up. If I was to take a roller coaster ride, my cholesterol levels would be through the roof because I'm panicked. Okay, I'm going to have to produce a lot of stress hormones. Okay, and I'm going to need more. Okay, so when you look at it, and this is again what in worlds that think that everybody should have the same levels, it's insane. The body is self-regulating. All doctors learn this first semester. The body is self-healing. All doctors learn this the first semester, along with anatomy and physiology. So the body is self-regulating and self-healing. Where it skews off, when the chiropractors and medical doctors finish the anatomy, finish the microbiology, finish the biochemistry, we're all taking the same courses. Then they skew off into pharmacology, where if you have abnormal levels, you take a chemical to alter your physiology, to bring it down to whatever. Well, that doesn't make any sense with the first thing that you learn, that the body's self-healing and self-regulating. There is no normal cholesterol levels. It depends on what your body requires. If it's high, you find out why it's high. See, the doctor of the future won't give you a toxic, poisonous chemical that can cause cancer, like a statin drug, okay, to get your blood level of cholesterol to some arbitrary number. None of that stuff makes sense in real world. What they're going to do is they'll say, it could be high in stress or tissue damage. Let's find out, what are you doing to repair your arteries? Are you taking soluble fibers on a regular basis? Do you have inflammatory foods in your system? Are you taking toxic animal products? Do you have more tissue damage? Are you a weightlifter? Or do you work out in the gym a lot, which also will cause you to have higher cholesterol levels from the tissue damage? So a little bit more research has to be in there, and no doctor in the future ever will give you a chemical to alter your cholesterol levels. That's absolutely insane and contraindicated to normal physiology. What they will do is they're going to look at how your body's responding and say, I'm concerned about this. You've had high cholesterol for a while. And the one thing with this is we know cholesterol is produced as need under hormone production, tissue damage, or an inflammatory response. So I'm concerned that your body is breaking down faster than it can repair, so let's work on rebuilding it. Okay, and then the cholesterol level should come down to normal. Does that make sense? Let's work with you. I know, that's human doctors. I know the other doctors are functioning towards a protocol that isn't based in reality. Yes, sir.
I have a brother who has MS, 15 years. Does it cause the neck thing?
He has a brother that's had MS for 15 years. In this country, it's extremely common, okay, because of the neurotoxins. What MS is, and that has to do with, and this is going to sound odd, but this is the nervous system. This is actually a cell body, dendrites, and the little tiny coverings around there are, it's called a myelin sheath. It actually allows the speed of the impulse to go quicker. Now, supposedly, and I'm just saying this, because people say that in MS, the myelin sheath is starting to be destroyed. However, it's not really just the myelin sheath that's being destroyed. There's a lot of poisons that the body is exposed to. And so what do they say in MS patients? Do they say, don't exercise or exercise a lot?
Don't exercise.
They say don't exercise. Do you want to know why? Because they're going to get tired. True. True. Okay. Now, when we look at this, and this is the tough part, MS comes from neurotoxins. That means something is toxic to the body. Now, vaccines are toxic. We know pesticides are toxic. We know packaged foods are toxic. We know plastics are toxic. We know environmental toxins, okay, from smoke and coal plants. All of those are neurotoxins. We know vaccines, forget about it. I mean, that's completely neurotoxic. Okay, so what that means is it's poisonous to the nervous system. Now, this is sensory, and that's going up, okay, to the body. Now, what happens in exercise? If I'm going to pinch this right now, what I'm doing, I'm stimulating Pacinian corpuscles or pressure sensors, and this is actually making a signal going all the way up here where it goes into my brain on this left side where it's sensory, and it's saying, wow, something is stimulated on the brain. Now, is this electrical, chemical, or both? Say both.
Both.
Both. Oh my gosh, that's so right. Okay, so what that means is if I'm stimulating this here, I'm doing an electrical and a chemical change all the way up that nerve root. So now the more electrical and chemical changes that you do along that nerve, is that going to make the nerve healthier and respond better? Yeah, and it's also going to make the body regenerate this myelin sheath. What we're also seeing is inside of the brain, there's a thing called, the brain is nourished by cerebral spinal fluid, but there's all these giant openings in the brain that are filled with cerebral spinal fluid. And around those openings, okay, there's white deposits, okay, and this is also what we see inside of the people with MS. So now why would it be around the giant fluid-filled spaces, why would there be white deposits on that? Could it be that the cerebral spinal fluid, or what it's making, the cerebral spinal fluid, is actually damaging areas of the brain because it's so toxic? Now, we've had patients before that, because the only way you can diagnose MS is by brain scan, and this is also if they have, loss of motor control or loss of direct function. And then you do the brain scan, and you find the lesions, and you say, wow, definitive, there's the diagnosis. However, what we've done, we've seen several brain scans where they've had those white deposits, and they go away. They literally go away, pre and post brain scans. Why? Because brain cells regenerate. See, they used to think that the brain couldn't regrow cells. We now know that the brain can regrow cells. So it's limitless. Now, could this be that some type of trauma caused areas of the brain to not function right? Could it be that the head maybe is forward, altering the function of the brain stem, or the midbrain, or the pons and the medulla, or the cortex? There's what people need to look at is MS is a problem with sensory input to the brain and toxicity and deficiency. Okay, does that make sense? And that's how you regenerate it. You do exercise that person, but you don't exercise them to fatigue. You get as much stimulus up as you can. I've had patients with MS where I say, look, sit in a chair, put your feet in the grass, and pull up the grass with your toes. Okay, but I want you to pull it up with the right toe, then the left toe, then the right toe, then the left toe, then the right toe, then the left toe. What's that doing? That's getting both halves of the brain to fire off correctly. And if you're stimulating the toes, are you stimulating those neurons all the way from the toes up to the brain? Absolutely. Now, okay, wait a second. Now, that's nerve damage, right? Nerve damage, MS? Okay. Now, do you think, since we're talking tissue damage, what do you think the cholesterol levels are going to be like in somebody with MS? Okay, good, for tissue repair. What do they typically do in this country? Okay, now, if you have pressure like this, do me a favor, sit up nice and straight and put your head forward. Now, take a deep breath. Okay, now reposition the head. This patient right here, it was taking 4 different blood pressure medications. Why do you think that? Because if his head's forward, that heart's got to work a heck of a lot harder to get oxygen to the brain. Again, that's why that deaf, dumb, and blind. Okay, you got to look at the body with respect. Does that make sense? Okay, next question. Yes, ma'am.
This is a question on calcium.
Mm-hmm.
We were told postmenopausal women have to take like 1,200 milligrams of calcium. Now they've kind of revised that to, if you do, then it goes into your arteries and calcifies. So you must have vitamin K2 and magnesium and low. What is the answer for that?
The question was, oh God, this I'm so glad you asked this because this pisses me off like you can't believe. Postmenopausal women were supposed to take 1,200 milligrams of calcium. What about calcium deficiency? And then what was just asked, calcium starts hitting the walls and causing hardening of the arteries, and you're supposed to take vitamin K2 in order to stop the clotting or something. Okay? Okay, good. Now, if you ask me the inner workings of a transmission on the 5th gear back, guess what? I haven't a clue. I don't know. I know D stands for drive, R makes the car go backwards. I don't know. Okay? If you ask the standard medical doctor about nutrition, he doesn't know. Okay? He doesn't know that the best source of calcium is dark green leafy vegetables. He doesn't know that calcium, extra calcium inside of the body, doesn't clog arteries. It doesn't cause hardening of the arteries. There's no calcium deposits inside of shoulder joints or elbow joints or knee joints. None of that stuff is true. That's all urban legend stuff. Okay, so it's all wrong. What causes arteries to get hardened is damage to the artery itself. I mean, you figure that right now, okay, and I'm in a resting state, I have, every time my heart goes, boom. I mean, if you had really good vision, you could probably see my arm go boom, 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 boom. Okay? That's not really my heart. That's only when I think about my sweetheart. Okay, but this right here, when it increases, that's about 125 millimeters of mercury. When it relaxes, it's about 80 millimeters of mercury. In fact, if I was to cut my artery right now, I might be able to hit my sister. No, that would be gross. You're worried about her. I'm going to be bleeding to death. Oh, there's love there. Okay, so what that means is the artery is under a lot of pressure. Okay, so if it's damaged by taking, say, fast foods, you have plastics in the system, you're taking genetically modified foods, you're taking homogenized milk, all of which can damage the arteries. The body's going to lay down a protective coating of fibrin, cholesterol, and calcium in order to protect that wall while the artery's being healed. Okay, once it's healed, then bam, that plaque goes away, the body just resolves it. It's a brilliant system. Now calcium, nobody is calcium deficient in this. You're never going to see a calcium deficient person. But calcium is not used by itself. You need vitamin D. You need magnesium. You need all of these minerals. But that's the crazy world when they say, have you ever heard zinc lozenges are the best? Yeah, there was a study that showed that was not true. It turns out that if you're zinc deficient, you need zinc lozenges. Okay? You're not going to be iron deficient. Okay? If you're iron deficient, you're also going to be calcium deficient, magnesium deficient, and everything else, because iron and most of those minerals are absorbed along one area of the intestinal tract. So when you look at calcium, why people or women are calcium deficient, that's the question to ask. The quality of your life literally depends on the quality of questions you ask. Why would a postmenopausal woman be calcium deficient? And by calcium deficient, I'm not talking about blood calcium levels. I'm talking about osteoporosis, because that's the real question, isn't it? See, I had to beat you up to find the real question. And I like you. So it's not calcium deficiency, it's osteoporosis. Then this is where the medical world gets it completely wrong. Okay, they're wrong on one thing, where too much calcium can cause damage to the arteries. That just doesn't make any sense at all. But what happens is, if the blood is acidic, the body needs to alkalinize the blood by going to the bone bank, and it's going to withdraw calcium because it's a positive ion, and that's going to alkalinize the blood. So if you have somebody taking, one of the patients that I had was given Tums with calcium because it's better than Rolaids, which is made with aluminum salt. However, calcium needs to be absorbed in an acidic environment. So if you're taking Tums, if you're taking an antacid on a regular basis, you're going to be calcium deficient, magnesium deficient, and iron deficient. So that's low energy osteoporosis and heart palpitations. Okay? So drugs are the leading cause. Toxic food, acidifying the blood, is going to be another cause of calcium deficiency, and a diet deficient in dark green leafy vegetables. Okay, and it never causes. So you never need to worry about a calcium supplement versus vitamin K. No, go get a big handful of kale, saute it up with some coconut oil, put a little bit of sea salt and pepper on it. Bitter melon, what was that? Yeah. Yeah, put a little bitter melon in there, put a little bit of some onions and garlic. Oh my God. Yeah, I just had bitter melon for the first time last night. It's out of this world. Okay? Yeah, so yeah. You should only supplement in weird things. Like at this time of the year, vitamin D3. Okay, a mineral, plant-based mineral supplement you need. Okay, vitamin C in when we're locked in and people are spreading genetically modified viruses and synthetic viruses through flu shots and other things. So that's a good time to take it. Okay? Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but what about eating a product that has certified organic, non-GMO soy?
Oh, what about eating certified organic non-GMO soy? No. Next. No. Well, what's cool is one of the best websites around is raypeat.com, RAYPEAT.com. Unless soy is fermented, okay, like miso or tempeh, it can have a negative effect on the body. It's an estrogenic effect, and it also blocks protein absorption. So there's a lot better, healthier foods out there. Okay? Yes, sir.
If you got a pain coming up from the knee, what do you need to do in terms of your nutrition, or is there something else you really need to focus on?
If you have pain coming out from the knee, is it one knee or both knees? Then it's not nutrition, because I'm assuming, and this is kind of the caustic attitude that I learned from my family, so you got to forgive me on this, okay? If somebody says, yeah, I have pain in one knee, what should I take? What kind of nutrition should I help? You know what I'm going to say? Well, I think both knees have the same nutrition. I know. Obviously, I got to get out more. But when you look at it, okay, that's kind of true and kind of not. But the body gives symptoms for a reason. Now, you got a pump on the back of the leg, okay, called the soleus. Now, this pump brings oxygen and drains the leg so it allows oxygen to get to the knee, gets to the thigh. So it could be the gait is off. It could be a pinched nerve in the back causing the foot to be flat. It could be a muscle imbalance driving that patella where it's going inside or outside. It could be the gait or the pelvis is off. If the pelvis is off, instead of having a normal gait, you're going to be throwing your pelvis forward. It could be pinched nerves in the low back. Okay? It could be direct trauma to the knee sometime in the past. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. 50% of all low back issues are coming from the neck. So if your head is forward, that's going to, again, pull the spinal cord. It's pulling the brainstem down, but it can pull the whole thing. That can cause a small trauma in the low back to be accentuated, pinching the nerves, leading to the problem in the knee. So what do you need to do in every one of those cases? Find the problem. You need to find a guy that's skilled, okay, in knowing that humans are healthy, okay, and then, they got to do all the diagnostics. Because if anyone thinks a knee problem is a knee problem, it's absolutely asinine. Unless you're laying there, you're feeling great, everything's wonderful, and your sweetheart comes in with a baseball bat and hits you in the knee. I've never seen that scenario. Could happen. Someday, maybe. Okay, but typically someone's going to say, no, I lifted wrong, I turned wrong, it hurt when I sat, it hurt when I drove, it hurt when I do that. No, come on, man, it's not the knee. Anyone that looks at it as a knee is a fool. And that's not rude. It's accurate. Okay, next question. Yes, sir.
What do you think of properly prepared whey from range-fed animals, both goat and cow.
What do I think about properly prepared whey
Whey protein.
from organic, healthy animals? Well, one of the best things to get educated on is what's a body's need for protein. Because typically you're going to look at whey for its ability to give you protein. Now, how much protein does the average human need? Very little. 60 what? 60 grams? 75? Anyone? Okay, I got 60, 75, going once, going once, going once, going once. 20. No, let's go over. Human beings, when we're growing, kid comes out about 8, 9 pounds, okay? Within a couple of years, they're going to be double, tripling their size. That's the highest protein growth that a human being needs, okay? And now, what are the protein requirements of a child? Mother's milk. Works fantastic. How much protein is in mother's milk? 25%? Okay. 2.5? 2.5? It's actually about 2.5 to 5. Okay, it's really low. So it's actually a lie to think that we need 20, 30, 40, 50% protein. Having more protein in the diet doesn't build muscles. Okay, it really doesn't. It's not good for your health, okay, to have too much protein. The World Health Organization says your meals should be no more than 7 to 10% protein. A good video to watch is Dude, Where's My Protein? Because it's one of those lies that's been perpetuated by the deaf, dumb, and blind, okay, you know. And they came up with this, and it has to do with prejudices, okay, that the meat eaters are much stronger than the plant eaters, okay, and that's not true. Okay, it's not true. One of the highest protein-filled plants around, cauliflower, baby, you're looking at 30%. So you want to bulk up? Cauliflower. Cauliflower.
Lentil beans too? Lentil?
You don't need the protein. Lentil beans are good because they're delicious. So is cauliflower. But you don't need extra protein sources if you're going at 4 protein. Okay, look at the movie, Dude, Where's My Protein? You need no more than 5 to 7% of your diet as protein. Yes?
So how did the Inuit Indians ever survive with 9 to 12 pounds of raw fat and meat most of the year? That's
Yeah, you're talking about fat. Fat is the highest energy source around. That's spectacular, and that's basically what they were doing. Because anything that you take in, whether it's protein, carbohydrates, anything that you are taking in, and it's more than what you're going to utilize, you're going to store that in the most efficient, compact area that you can, and that's called fat. So you get these whales, you get the sheep. I mean, talking about Inuit, how did they live off of fat and meat? Okay, that's it. And that's why they had low incidence of heart disease. They did have a lot of fruits and carbohydrates in the summertime. Yeah, but it was mainly the fat in the wintertime, which makes sense because that's a high energy food. And if it's, in the teens, you pretty much need a lot of high energy. Next question.
Do you recommend the yogurt?
Do I recommend yogurt? Yogurt is good for getting healthy bacteria in your system. Coconut yogurt is out of this world. It's really hard to find healthy animal sources of yogurt. Okay, buffalo yogurt is probably going to be healthier. Goat yogurt is going to be healthy. Coconut yogurt is going to be some of the best. Yes, ma'am.
What about drinking for an adult? Drinking raw, organic goat milk?
What about drinking for an adult raw organic goat milk? Great.
Beneficial?
Yeah, it tastes good. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of benefits to having certain dairy products, and there's a lot of people who are intolerant to it. Goat milk is one of the more safer forms, and you got to figure in the wintertime, there's so much fat inside of the animal products that in a lot of countries it kept them going. You're not going to see, like milk usage in the very, very cold climates and the dairy, that's pretty much all they had to keep them going. And, it's a good energy food. It's not the best source of food. Like if you're dealing with disease, you don't want to have that on a regular basis. But, young, healthy, normal human that's, below 100 years old, it can be part of their diet. And I think anybody below 100 is pretty much young. Yes, sir.
Linus Pauling and Hoffman, they recommend C and B. How much will you recommend?
Oh, Linus Pauling and Hoffman recommend C and B vitamins. Yeah. How much is going to be, it's dependent on the need of the person. What's neat with vitamin C is that you're going to urinate it out, any excess. And it really depends on the need. I mean, we'll recommend complete vitamin C IVs for people with cancer or systemic diseases. And it's fantastic. If you're getting mercury removed, you want a vitamin C IV during the dental procedure. Typically between 10,000 or 20,000 milligrams of complete vitamin C with bioflavonoids. That's the kicker. Because most vitamin C is just ascorbic acid. And if you start to do excess of that, you're going to get the runs, okay, because it's not a real vitamin C. But if you get the complete vitamin, it's kind of like overdosing on oranges. You know, honey, put down that orange, you've had too many. You're not going to hear that a lot because you're not going to get the runs from eating too many oranges. That's why you got to look at the source of the vitamin C. But it really depends on what you're trying to do. If it's cancer, you're looking at 50, 60,000 milligrams a day. You can look at 200 milligrams, a day, 200,000 through vitamin C IVs. It depends on the need. Yeah, typically we'll recommend between 5 and 10,000 milligrams.
Hoffman cured a lot of people with high doses of nicotinic acid.
Oh, yeah. Hoffman cured a lot. I'm repeating it so that it can be recorded. Hoffman cured a lot of people, and they do. Also with, they started orthomolecular psychiatry where they got severe schizophrenics back functioning on the street, okay, using high-dose vitamins, okay, and which is brilliant because if somebody is deficient, you may need more in order to kick their immune system up. Yes, ma'am.
Abram Hoffer was taking 18 grams a day himself. I just finished the course.
Abram Hoffer was taking 18 grams
a day
through the day of vitamin C.
Vitamin C tonight.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There was a big controversy with Abram Hoffer, and I forget a contemporary of his. And I think Abram Hoffer, didn't he die in his mid-80s?
No, older, 91 and a half.
91 and a half. It's the contemporary that had a big argument with him died in, I think, when he was 67. So it was interesting. If you're just going on longevity, he won. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you were just saying when you're having amalgam fillings removed to have vitamin C IV?
Yes.
Okay, so that's awesome. I never heard of that. But along those lines, do you also recommend waiting a few months in between each removal of amalgam, so you have multiple amalgams to remove?
No. What the question was, vitamin C IV is good during amalgam removes. Should you remove them like one at a time, or should you get them all blasted out? If they're blasted out, as they're not really shooting them. Okay. No, if you're doing the appropriate procedure, get them all out as soon as you can, because what the appropriate procedure is a rubber dam. They have oxygen going in, they have a vacuum coming out, they've got a vitamin C IV, and then they remove them using a specific procedure where they're not like chipping them out, grinding and smoking so it goes everywhere. If the rubber dam, the vacuum, the special filter inside of the room, the oxygen going in, and the vitamin C IV is done, you want to get the poison out as quickly as possible.
And is there anything else to supplement with to get the body strong to make sure it doesn't get affected?
Is there anything to supplement with after you do that type of dental procedure? Absolutely. You're talking chlorella, spirulina, vitamin C, all the antioxidants, fresh fruit juices, healthy fats, I mean everything. The protocol is Huggins protocol, and he developed it. In California, there's one doc in Thousand Oaks. Well, we use American Biodental in Tijuana. They've got the greatest protocols down there. Yep. Now we only have time for one more question. One more question. Yes.
Okay, they've got tests now that can show the early signs of Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in those tests? And if you did have the early signs, what would you do about it?
They now have tests for early signs of Alzheimer's. Do I believe in the tests, and what should we do about it? in today, 2014 in America, assume that you all have Alzheimer's. Okay? I mean, absolutely. Assume that you also have cancer. Because we're breathing in aluminum and barium titanate crystals from the chemtrails. We're exposed to massive amounts of toxic chemicals, the glyphosates inside of the foods that aren't 100% organic. Even the foods that are 100% organic, we've got glyphosates in our water system. I mean, I'm filtering out here, but honestly, goodness, sometimes you're in a place where you're not going to get filtered water. So you have massive amounts in there. And I'm talking about the healthy individual. I'm not talking about the person taking the cholesterol drug, the flu shot every year, eating at McDonald's and Denny's in the morning, okay? And they think that little orange slice is their fruit serving for the day, okay? Of course they put the parsley on the outside because they heard that causes cancer. So, I'm serious, okay? So I'm talking about the aware person. Assume you got it. So what does the brain need for healthy function? You need healthy stimulus. This means you have to walk barefoot on the grass. I mean, most people that are going to be watching this are freezing their butts off right now. So, you're not going to find grass in Rochester. Okay, yeah. Okay, but you got to have certain stimulus. So you got to exercise. So you got to work out. Saltwater pool would be ideal. More stimulus into the brain is going to be ideal because the working out's going to detox your system. You got to watch what you're putting in. If you're taking a chemical to alter your physiology, that's called medical care. Okay, if you're taking a chemical to alter your physiology, you've got to change that thought process. Find out why your body is exhibiting that physiology and correct it. So you got to get your nervous system healthy because you truly live your life through your nervous system. And then you've got to detox your body, realize that you are exposed to poisons, and get healthy fats and nutrients to stimulate the brain function. This is why people that read more, people that exercise more, people that have a healthy diet don't develop the Alzheimer's. They really don't. And if they do, you can find out why. I mean, I had this one gal that was, she was an airline, what do they call them? Not stewardesses. When she was doing it, they were called stewardesses. Flight attendants. Okay, good. Good. When in the 60s, they were stewardesses. Okay? Okay, thanks. I'm trying to be politically correct. Okay, but she had massive exposure to lots of microwaves, okay, cooking the food. And she said, I always ate healthy except when I was flying. That's, microwaving and plastic, and that's pretty much what got her going. Okay? Does that? Yes, sir.
What's your favorite way of promoting telomere longevity?
What's my favorite way of promoting telomere longevity? The telomeres are kind of a part of how your body reproduces itself. Okay, long telomeres mean you're going to live longer. Things that shorten it are going to decrease it. Exercise, nutrition, decreasing physical, chemical, and emotional stress. Okay, and that's going to help with how your body works. Look at everything as an oxidative metabolism. That's a breakdown and buildup of systems. You have to break down and build up and handle that process, and then you're going to have healthy production. There's all sorts of different things that you can do with healthy sugars. Like Manitech has a product called Ambertose, which is healthy sugars, which helps with telomere production. You're talking, there's so many, antioxidants are going to help. There's going to be so many different things. Healthy fats are going to help, but also look at what destroys it, neurotoxins. So eliminate neurotoxins and help the system. Yes, ma'am.
So if I'm doing like a half of a young coconut every morning in my protein shake, how much more of coconut oil would you take a day that's healthy?
Do the whole coconut.
And then that's, okay.
Yeah.
Then I don't need to take any extra oil?
No, because it totally depends. I'm doing half a coconut a day. How much more coconut oil should I take in order to meet my requirements? Okay, now is a standard 125-pound girl going to need the same amount as a 200-pound guy? Maybe, depending on her hormone requirements or her tissue damage. She might need more. I don't know. And that's the thing where naturopaths, people that are doing it, they get in this allopathic mindset of prescribing, like how much vitamin C does a person need? Nobody knows. What's their requirement? How much vitamin D3 should you have? Nobody knows. People can throw estimates right out of their keister that says 3,000 units for every 100 pounds of body weight. Nobody knows. Okay, you can see on a general basis, but there may be some people out there that need a lot. They might need 5 tablespoons. To fix Alzheimer's, I've seen 4 to 6 tablespoons. Is that accurate, or is it just a guess? Total guess. It depends how you're going to metabolize it. It depends on your liver function. It depends on how you're going to break it down. It depends on the health of the nerve supply to the duodenum and the first part of the jejunum. You know, I mean, there's so many things that we don't know, you know, on that. So look at your cravings. Look at how you feel. I mean, that's one of the brilliant things with Mercola. I love. I think he's got some great ideas. I don't agree with him completely, but he does metabolic typing. Eat it, try it, see how you feel. Okay? Of course, that doesn't mean vodka for breakfast and, you know, see if you're okay. You know, you got to have a thought process there, but experiment around. See if you got more energy at the end of the day.
So maybe have it like half in the morning and half in the afternoon to get more energy?
Maybe, more than likely. But what you want to do is typically supplement in the morning, because that's going to be the start of your day. I mean, for me, I start at 5, and I'm pretty much, you know, out of the gate working my tail feathers off all day long. So I need to supplement in the morning. If your morning starts off slow and then you're going to the gym later, you know, you may need a little boost, okay, right around noon. Okay, now, okay, we ran 4 questions over the last question. That was supposed to be the last question. So, was this helpful? Yes. Okay, cool. It was all right. Thanks. Oh, I like it. Cool. We might do this again because it was really easy. I only had like 3 slides. That on December, we're going to have 2 guest speakers. One, Changing the Perception of Birth, which is going to be amazing. Alicia Garrett. And then the next one is going to be Organic. Is it worth the cost? I don't know. I think, is it worth having a healthy body, or do you want to wait till it gets sick? Oh, God, I just blew that talk. Okay, and then we're going to talk about stress. We're actually going to be closed for the holidays, and then we have goal setting and mind setting. So, thank you very much.